Today we're going to look at the Parsley call getImage and the different arguments you can provide to it and what those functions do. So here we have two images, one that's more landscape and one that's more portrait. If you just call getImage without any arguments, you'll get these original images back in the same size and these same ratios, just stripped of their EXIF data and optimized a little bit for web. If, for example, you call getImage with 200 by 200 fit, what we're providing here are three arguments. The first is the width, how wide you want it. The second is how tall you want it, the height. And the third is whether you want it fit or cropped. So we're going to look at the difference between what changing those arguments does to the resulting output image. So with this bicycle image, if I call 200 fit, what it's going to do is it's going to grab the image and throw it into the center of my this imaginary box first. Then it's going to try to shrink the image down so that it fits within this container. And so here you see there's a little bit of white space within this box. So what's actually going to print out is just this image here that's been fit down to be 200 wide, and however tall it is less than 200. If we were to call 200 fit, you can see a similar process occurs, where it's still going to try to size it into this box. And here you see it's actually going to adopt the 100 height to be able to fit within the box and be less than 200 wide. With the 200 crop, what's going to happen is it's actually going to find the first dimension of this box that it finds and then crop the remaining pixels or mask them. So if you look at this here, what's going to happen next is applies a mask here and there. And so here we actually change the ratio of the image to be exactly what we call for in the crop argument. So here's another example where we're going to be using the crop with a different argument. So it'll go until it finds the first border of that square. In this case, that's the height. And then it's going to mask to fit that exact ratio. I messed up that one here, but that's where it doesn't distort the image, but just will grab that exact ratio, cropping it once it's sized it down to one of those parameters. So we'll run through that again, with this time with a portrait style photo. So 200 fit. It's going to try to fit it within that case. Like that. And so there's the resulting portrait for a 200-100 fit. Now let's look at cropping of portrait styles. So we'll make sure that that's about centered. Mask that. So that's the resulting image out of a 200-100 crop. And so pull that up here, center that, and apply the mask. So you can see with crop, you know exactly what size image you're going to get out of it, but you don't. But what the Parsley is actually going to do is actually remove aspects of the image to make sure it fits in that space. Whereas with fit, you don't know the exact ratios. Well, if you do the math, you do. It will either abide by one of the limits or the other, and then be less than the one that it is not actually fitting by. So if it's 100 pixels tall, it will be less than 200 wide. So what happens if we don't provide all the arguments? Well, fit is assumed because with if you just provide a width and a height. Crop, you always need to provide both arguments again, because if I don't provide one of these arguments, it would assume that it's 0, and so 200 wide, 0 pixels tall is not a visible image. And so if I just provide one argument, either the width or the height, then it's going to do a fit call, but assume that the other dimension is infinite. So with this, it will grab whatever it makes this image 200 pixels wide. Same with the portrait. Regardless of how tall that is. And then the same principle for just providing the height. It's going to make it 100 pixels tall, regardless of how wide it is. Hopefully that clarifies some expectations for what to get when you provide arguments to the getImage call.